interns. That's it. Ever. Community Board 12 will never hire interns. Ever. So, we've had this conversation before with Father Gorman. Many of you are still on the board from that era. I'm going to tell you that right now. We've had issues with interns. We have to pay interns. I would much rather hire people. Hiring people and hiring staff is what we should be doing. Again, we got caught in this. We were in the process of hiring somebody. The city put a halt on it, and we've been in a holding pattern ever since. They've just recently said that we can start rehiring people, but you have to clear it through OMB first. But we're not ever hiring interns to work at the community board because there's nothing really for them to do. If board members want to get involved, some of you have some expertises in regards to this and you want to offer insight, that's fine, but we're not doing interns.
Okay. Hey, George, can you give me a little bit of background as to what happened in the past? You said with Father Gorman, so that was, before some
Oh,
of
no,
us.
no. It wasn't an issue with Father Gorman. I'm saying I had this conversation with Father Gorman. We've had interns in the past. They're absolutely horrible. It's as simple as that. Ursula can chime in and give you
Yeah, I
the
see she's got
history.
her hand raised, so that's why I said,
Yeah.
Ursula, you're up.
Well, we had this one intern that decided he wanted to visit porn sites all day.
Well, unfortunately,
I think we've only had one good intern since I've been there, and that's throughout 25 years. They don't want to work. They want to do what they want to do. That's just it. They're just there to get whatever they can get. It's not a good look. It
okay.
always turns out bad.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for, because I didn't know that. I'm chuckling because I'm like, geez, if I'm working a job, that's not, you laughing too, Ms. Klein.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that that's what you would be doing, but clearly, anyway.
Well, listen, I don't want to get caught up on that one intern. We've
Yeah.
had experiences with interns where it doesn't work out. They require an extreme amount of supervision. And again, what we do, Ursula and I know what we're doing. We have a really good thing. I personally don't think internships, I've been to a million and one internships. They don't really work. They don't. I know people say that they do. In small instances, they do. They lead to jobs that, stuff like that. But my experience with them has just it's been horrible. And we have, just to be fair to Community Board 12, I've been there for 5 years. We've had intern 3 of those years, and all 3 of those years, it's not been good. So I'd much rather focus my energies on doing things that we're trying to do than having to supervise, a handful of interns, by the way, that we also have to pay. And if I'm going to spend city resources on paying, I'm going to hire staff. I'm going to hire union staff because all of our staff is DC 37. I'd much rather do that.
Okay, now let me ask this question because I'm seeing something in the chat from Carla, and and she's saying that she still thinks it's worth a try. She says that Carmen and her worked with a Lehman College professor of political science who's willing to give class credit for the intern at work. So I guess my question is, and I'm seeing you, Carla. So my question is that if they're receiving credit for the class, that would be, and I mean, because I think we did that in the chemistry department when I was in school. So I guess the question is,
You
for
still have
George
to
and
pay
Ursula,
interns.
hang on for a second. So for George and Ursula, would that not, if they're getting college credit for it, you still think that's a bad idea? Because again, we're talking about their grades now. And like I said, I taught college,
I'm not
so I know how
responsible.
kids bother the hell out you for your grades.
I understand. I'm not a professor, and again, that's not my focus. My focus is on doing city work. You have to pay your interns. It's a city law now.
Oh, it's
Before,
okay. Okay.
yeah. So
Okay. All right.
regardless of whether they're getting college credit, you have to pay intern. There's a special category with OMB. They get special IDs and all this other stuff. It does, again, you're under new leadership. I'm not Carmen. And again, I'd rather focus my energy. And right now, quite frankly, we're operating from home. Other than adding content, we should be, like you said at the beginning of this meeting, you're looking for accountability.
Yes.
We're now talking about we've had a quorum for June, we had a quorum for September. Let's keep that going. We'll have a quorum hopefully for October so that we can get our vote in, and we'll start adding stuff to the website.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Okay. So see, so now that's something that I don't think I knew, is that, and I think if you may have mentioned it to me, George, and like I said, there's a lot going on. And I may have forgotten that, that we have to pay interns. So the bottom line is we need to, I think my reason for all of this is that I'm glad we're having this discussion, is to, if that's not feasible, then let's look at a way to get the website. I think that's the big picture for me, is, getting our record keeping in order. And that's, as it pertains to, not only writing our reports, but then putting it up so that the community can, see what we're doing. So I think that's what I'm looking at. And so I think we can, again, we can start looking at the Google Drive, and then again, I'm gonna talk with Ms. Blair a little bit later, since she's one of our newer board members, and discuss how we can turn that into something similar to what we did with the budget consultations, the borough budget consultations that everybody has access to. Okay, so
I
before
think,
moving on,
Dr. Burke, but I
yes,
think to Ivan's point, Ivan raises a very important issue. And this
okay,
is the issue of which I've spoken about a million times. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. We have 15 committees. If you're going to trouble people to sit and chair a committee and then written a report and then not even bother to go over what was done in the public setting or the public sphere, then that's kind of a waste of time. And so the reality is you need to reduce the number of committees so that you're not wasting people's times. You've said it millions of times, people don't read. So why is it necessary if we're going to have 15 reports that people are not going to read? So again, that's part of what my report on Thursday is going to be. The bylaws committee has not addressed this issue. And my other thing on the bylaws committee, again, I don't want to seem negative, but I could have swore we tabled that issue. So I don't know what we're voting on in Thursday's meeting for bylaws when there was nothing to vote on.
I think there is one issue I think that everybody raised, that, and again, that's why I was hoping that they would have a meeting this month that we could address. I think some of the motions, some of the amendments can come up for a vote. Others, quite frankly, until we clean it up, I would not want to bring to the board for a vote, truth be told. So I think, some of the ones are a little bit cleaner than others, in regards to the committee reduction, that is something that's on the agenda tonight. Because, as I said, I have an idea of, some committees that I would like to reduce. And as it pertains to points, I mean, look, I think we all said that we want to be on the board for a reason, right? So yes, I know that, what we're asking is quite a bit, I think there's something that, is not as, that's quoted in the Bible, to much is given, much is expected. So, if we're going to be, committee chairs, then yes, I know that, if we bring something to the floor, then we want to read it, that's fine. But my thing is, I don't read everything in my report, because if so, we'll be there all night. I will skim through, certain things, and then I will keep it moving, right? So I don't read every single, I mean, hell, if you look at what I wrote back for last month, I mean, that was what, 12, 13 items? I didn't read every single one. And I sat there and wrote it. I spent quite a bit of time writing it. So my thing is, I don't get hung up on stuff like that. And so, to be reading stuff, I mean, the bottom line is it's for the benefit of the community, not for, me writing it or feel like I'm wasting time or that I've got to read it. No, that's just how I look at it. So the question then becomes, why are we doing it? Are we doing it so that we can read it? or are we doing it for the community? I mean, for the community, as we said that we were going to do. So that's my take on that. Anything else? Okay, so let's go to item number 2. So item number 2, we were talking about an update on the planned meeting with city planning, HPD, and other organizations. So again, I'm going to have George help me out with this again, but let me just give you the premise of what this is about. So, I think, we really want to sit down with some of these agencies that we want to be held, that we want to hold to account, and we really want to sit down and have a conversation with them. So not in an adversarial type of setting, but more of a conversational type of setting to see what their plans are for our neighborhoods and what we can do to make our neighborhood a better place, right? So in other words, what can we do? Talk to them from our side and hear what they have from their side, and then maybe come to an agreement with these agencies. And so I think what we were trying to do was to plan that for, sometime next month or maybe in the future. So to that end, what George has been willing to do is to make those connections, not only for me coming in as your new chair, but also for us as a collective. And so I know that he's been reaching out. And so that's something that we've got planned. I guess the first thing is to meet with me. And then the next thing is to meet with the board as a whole. And potentially, I think what we were thinking about originally was something like the following. I think, and again, this was George's idea, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. I think what we were thinking about was something like, let's call in something like city planning, let's call in housing preservation and development, and I think George mentioned 2 other agencies right now. They're slipping my mind. And what we would do is we would have board members and the community come and check in. So in other words, someone like what Pam does with the precinct council meetings, where you would have to actually reserve a spot for this meeting. And that way you can come in and have your questions like we do, like we try to do for district budget consultations, have your questions ready. So I know some of you on the call have, submitted questions in the past, others haven't, but even at that, to come in and have questions available and ready for the agencies and really have a dialogue with them. And so I think that was what, we were talking about at the end of last month, and then again, somewhat in this month as well. And so, George, if I'm missing anything, let me know. But I think I tried to capture it the way that you'd mentioned it.
Yeah, no. So this was born primarily from the budget consultations. This is really an opportunity for board members, because we've had a number of issues come before the community board that I think the last 3 housing issues we've not been supportive, and there may be some misunderstanding on what it is or what our role is, for example. So for this meeting, it would only be city planning and HPD, because we've had 2 senior projects, one in Woodlawn, which we never even got an opportunity to vote on, and then there's a housing project now on Penfield and White Plains Road, which kind of was not supportive. I don't think we voted on that either. And then there's a project now on 212th Street, that B&B project that, again, we've never voted on it because there's some, I guess, thoughts about that. So this was an opportunity for folks to come in and for HPD to come in and say, hey, explain things that people may not necessarily know, like the average median income, AMI, and the reason why they do their certain housing initiatives. Right now, homelessness is a hot topic issue, and A lot of the housing that they're building in, especially the senior housing and even the housing on 212th Street, that project has 50% of it going to formerly homeless people. The two Sarah projects, those are senior housing projects. All of it is not all of it is for formerly homeless, but all of it is Section 8, project based Section 8, which means that you can get from that pool of formerly homeless people. Um, so, when people start talking about that, it kind of people get negative reaction or have negative reactions to it. So the hope here is that when we'll do pre-registration like the 47th Precinct Council, so that you'll be able to ask your question in the pre-registration, and then we'll sort them out so that we can have HPD address all of those issues instead of having a free for all, like kind of like this.
Thanks, George. I think, for me, my issue is, again, from them. And again, I know that others have tried to tell me, I still think that the worst vote that this community board ever took was that vote in 2011, which is allowed all this stuff to take place to begin with. Again, that's just my opinion. I know some members of the board tell me, no, that's not the case. And again, we are entitled to our own opinion. I think what bothers me, and I think, and this is what, George and I were talking about, is that, we want economic development. We want green space. And the fact that Alan Bell, Mark Stagg, Kim Tasker, and all of these people are bringing on all these formerly homeless people into our neck of the woods, because all of you see the transformation that's occurring. I see it, and I'm looking at just about all the new members are here. You see it, where this place is turning into a dump, and so it was really pissing me off. And so you damn right, I'm against all of them. And so the fact that you have these people that are going, and again, and I know it's not George's fault, because George says it's something that's true, that once they go to these agencies, they come to us. I mean, well, they come to us because they want our support. But they don't have to have it, and I think, Mr. Hall, you said that, Alfreda, you said that. I've learned that they don't have to have it. They can do what the hell they want to do. And it's up to us to get I think for us to find out why, because I'm not going to be a doormat. And so, that eye of the tiger that we heard about, hang on, Ursula, that eye of the tiger that we had heard about in the Rocky movies, that's who I am. So that's just, and so I think what George proposed is that, we come in and talk to them and find out what we need to do. Because I know, for instance, I know that, Ms. Gibson and I worked quite a bit on, and others, on trying to stop Alan Bell, but yet and still, he hasn't won yet, but he's he's damn near won. So anyway, Ursula, you have
So I have a question.
yes.
So
Okay, hang on for a second. Carla, you're sharing your screen. You know that, right? Carla? Carla. Okay, let me.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Carla, you're sharing your screen for whatever reason.
No, because my camera stopped working, and I've been pushing a lot of buttons trying to get it to.
Okay. So I need you to stop sharing
apologies.
your screen.
I hope it's nothing scary that I shared.
But right now it's kind of sort of. I forgot to unclick that link, but I need you to stop sharing your screen.
Okay. Let me get back there. I was just trying to get my video to display.
Okay.
So yeah, just some technical difficulties here.
Okay, and I need to mute people.
Okay, did I undo that yet?
What's that? No, I still see your screen, Carla, because I want to show mine.
Huh. Stop share. Okay.
Stop
Did
sharing.
I fix that?
You did.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was pushing a lot of buttons trying to get my video to display, but obviously that didn't work. So, okay. Are we good now?
We're good. Thanks,
Okay,
Carla.
thank you.
Not a problem. Yes, Ursula.
So I got a question. So
Yes, ma'am.
I've always been told as of right they can do it. So
Yes.
wouldn't our fight then just be with the city and not the developers? Because
Well,
if the
yeah,
city is telling them, hey, you can do it, because even if we support them or not, they can still do it.
that's
So,
correct.
okay.
That's correct. So yes, you're absolutely right. Our fight is with the city. You know what I mean? It definitely is with the city. So and that's why, George proposed what he proposed. And I'm like, hey, I'm on board because we need to figure out why, like I said, when we were in borough budget consultation, and like I said, I was pretty nasty to one person who pretty much said, yeah, you need housing. And I was like, as Prince would say, I need another house, like I need a hole in my head. But, and again, I'm not a Prince fan, but for those of you that follow him, George is smiling, but you kind of know the song that I'm talking about. Yeah, we need to find out what the hell is going on and why they think that we need housing, because that's what was said. And again, I know that my graph in the February meeting probably suggested we do. In fact, I know it does, but it's the type of housing that we get. So in other words, if you're going to put housing up, then, and again, that's not where the money is, but if you're going to put my housing up, then I need you to put up something like what's at the end of Bronxwood and Tilden Street, where you're putting up some condos or some co-ops, and not these dumps that they're putting in and raping us dry and taking all the money and going to Hawaii and Mexico and all over the place. So that's all I'm saying, Ursula. So you're right, but we need to find out what's going on and why they think we need housing.
But that makes the problem systemic. And Ursula's right. It's a systemic problem. And that needs to be corrected. And if you're going to do that, fine. But until that's done, the argument is debatable. That's what it comes
It's
down
debatable,
to.
Mr. Hall. I mean, you're right. We're trying to find out why they think. It's amazing how the city thinks that we need things that we really don't. So what we're trying to do is get to the root problem. So why do you think that we need housing? You know what I mean? Why do you think? Well, let me take it back, Mr. Hall. Let me say it like this: why do you think we need a certain type of housing? That's the thing. So if we need housing, as you say, because there are plenty of things that I could have thought of that we could have done with that property. I think one of the worst things this is again my opinion, that we did was vote Congressman Engel out. And I say that because I had him working on behind the scenes on this B&B project. So, and of course he was doing everything that he could. And of course we vote him out, and then that's not the topic for another day. But again, that's my opinion because, as I said, I was working with him. So the question then becomes going to these agencies head on and find out what the hell is going on and letting them know how we feel and then what to do about it. So,
Well, I just want you to, I'm going to give you a suggestion.
okay.
All right. Because you're going to have a new congressman and he's coming in with something completely different. And they're talking about this Green New Deal. You have to do your homework on this. And here we go. Not a problem, but
I agree.
Be mindful.
I totally agree. Mr. Hall, I couldn't have said that. I totally agree with that. You're absolutely right, because, the congressman-elect's priorities are totally different than he's not former Congressman, but Congressman Engel's priorities. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
The only thing I'll add to this argument is one of the things that people have a really hard time understanding is that the city uses their tax subsidies, and that's what the developers want. They want the tax breaks. They get the 20-year 421A or whatever it is. They want these subsidies and they develop it. But if they go to the city and they get these subsidies, they have to put, I mean, now it's city law, 15% of any building that has more than 40 units has to have formerly homeless housing in it. And so we need, as a community, we need to have a conversation about what it is that we want as a community. So, for example, do we want high-end housing, i.e. luxury housing? Because in some communities, the fear is that drives gentrification. that our community will no longer look like our community. And then if you only put low income housing, you know, the project that Dr. Burke is referring to, the B&B project, the conversations that we've had is that we want economic development in our neck of the woods. We want Applebee's, we want restaurants, we want all sorts of things. We want retail stores. And you're not going to have that when the corporate headquarters are sitting somewhere in middle America and they're saying, oh, well, what about the demographics for this particular community and what kind of income are they generating? And they say, oh, well, you know, half of that building is 50% formerly homeless and it's a net negative on the community. So, you know, those are and these are difficult conversations. I mean, this is not an easy thing for us to come up with, because I don't think I've ever met a politician, for example, and you know, that has said, "Yeah, I don't want affordable housing." Everybody wants affordable housing. Well, you know, there's certain tiers to that. HPD has 3 tiers. That's why we're inviting them to come have a conversation with us, explain to us how the AMI works. For example, they'll say, "Oh, we're building affordable housing, but you know, they charge you almost $2,200 a month for a 2-bedroom." And you say, "How is that affordable?" So, you know, those are the types of questions that I want you guys to think about, so that, you know, we have a really good conversation with HPD and city planning. Because the other thing is, city planning, if you recall, we had a meeting maybe a year and a half ago on a weekend. And that's the other thing. We should consider having a weekend meeting. I'm not suggesting it, but it might be easier. They came in because they want to rezone Boston Road. So Boston Road could look like White Plains Road in the future. And that, you know, like in White Plains Road, because it has a transit line, and we're fortunate in our community board, we have 2 transit lines. We have White Plains Road and we have Dyer Avenue. So we have areas within our district that are highly sought after. And, you know, maybe 20 years from now, our district is going to look different. It's not going to look the way it does because you're going to have multi-story buildings. So that's the only thing that I wanted to add to that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, George. I mean, again, that's why I appreciate, you know, you being here to provide some whatever clarity I can't provide that you can provide. So, again, and as I said, so George and I, for the most, even though we didn't really communicate today, you know, we try to communicate pretty much every day. And today was my fault, because I was just busy with other things. Can you not hear me? You can't. Okay, you can. Okay, you can hear me, right?
You?
Okay,
Yeah, I can hear you.
Alfredo says he can't hear me.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So actually, that brings up the next item on the agenda. Well, you know, I saw something in the chat where we talked about our voices, and the next item on the agenda is something that Toba brought up. This is Toba LaCrown that he brought up at our last full board meeting, and this is in regards to 4747 White Plains Road. So, and again, Carla, I know that you're on here somewhere, because I know I haven't had a chance to get. I know some of you have called me. I know I owe Johnny Goff a call. I know I owe Carla a call, and actually called Mr. Stricker and some other people. I've just said I've been swamped with other things. But Topa's group is having a rally in March to 4747 White Plains Road. Now, and so what that is, for most of you that you know, the city has, this is, of course, the Department of Homeless Services has made that a temporary shelter. And of course, we're trying to get a hard commitment from them as to when they're going to move these gentlemen out. If you remember me saying back at the last monthly meeting, and I even told Deputy Commissioner Drinkwater this, is that the site owner has now erected benches outside, which would suggest to me that they're not leaving anytime soon. So I think the reason that that you see me push so hard on HPD as well as homeless services, because we have all these people that are transforming our neighborhood, and that's the one thing that I've heard. And I'm going to talk about the new members in a little bit. That's one thing I heard from the new members, is that, you know, we're seeing a change, and I don't like the change. They don't like the change. You don't like the change. So we need to find out, in particular with homeless services, when these guys are going out. Now, I think that in my last conversation, because normally what's happened is that we have a call the last Wednesday of the month where George, myself, and a couple of community residents in the Woodlawn section actually talk to Mr. Sotomayor and others, talk to and hear what the update is. And normally there's a whole bunch of nothing the past couple of months. Now, I would imagine that because this month, the way this month has operated, is that it's been funky in that the last Thursday of the month actually is not until the 29th. So this month we have 5 Thursdays. And so the last Wednesday is on the 28th. So it's not this coming Wednesday, which means that I haven't seen any notices from Ms. Drinkwater for our meeting. And so what Tober and them are going to do is they're going to, and I think the Wakefield Civic League is different from the Wakefield Taxpayers Association, right? So I think that these are 2 separate groups. And so the question then becomes, is this something that we're going to support? And so, like I said, I'll probably, if I can, I think I have an appointment. I just really have an appointment. So I may or may not be able to make it, but I know some board members are going to try to make that. I think one of the things that, and Carl, that Carl and I discussed was, if we as a community board were to do such a thing, could we get a better presence and being better organized? And so I haven't had a chance to sell it. So I'll tell her my answer on to everybody else. And the answer is yes. So I think that if we did something and then put some teeth, put our money where our mouth is, then I think that that's something that I'm on board with. So Carl, if you're still here, just to, yeah, I see you. So that's just an answer to the questions that yes, I'm on board with that. I think that it's a good idea if we come up with something structured, and if you could speak to that for a minute, I would appreciate it. Carla?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I did have.
Oh, I have a question. Why are you on your phone and on the computer at the same time?
Because I bought a fancy new video camera thingy that is obviously not working. So sorry,
Okay.
my techno idiocy is in operation now. It's
Okay.
just not working.
Okay.
So yes, I worked with what was on hand. So yes, I think you and I have had conversations in the past about promoting these events in an organized way where we reach out to the local newspapers with community events calendars where we can post for free, and really, go back to things Ursula worked on in the past, like the community and block association contact list, where we do a huge blast in advance of these events and really mobilize the forces so that we get a good turnout. So I guess that's my main feedback, just reaching out to all the local organizations, because my fear is that if we show up with 10, 15 people, DHS is just going to say, you see, nobody really cares. But if we take, 3-4 weeks in advance and promote to all the contacts we've built up in the community, we could really build up a presence. So that's it.
Okay. Well, again, I agree with that. So I think, when you plan something, again, obviously most of I love our fraternity, and there's a saying that we have that I can't really say because we have women on board, and I will respect you, but I will say that, to that end, I'll paraphrase it like this: when you plan poorly, you get poor results. So to that end, I don't know based on what I do know, what Toba is planning, I don't know how well thought out it is, because based on some of the intel I've seen, some of them are a little bit weary about it. So I really don't know, truth be told. Like I said, if I'm there, I will, if I'm able to go, I can, as I said, because I have another appointment in a day. And so I don't know, but I think that and I think George has made this point on numerous times as well, our attendance will dictate what these agencies see. And so I think what I've been trying to do is leading us to a point where we have more of a say and, more energy. And so, Carl, I think that you and I can probably talk a little bit more offline about, what you're thinking. And then maybe we can bring something either in an email note or something like that, but plan something a little bit further in advance, because I think that I know DHS claims that they're going to be out in January. Personally, I don't believe them, and neither does anybody else. And so we need to, try to, hold them to account.
Sure. I'm still on George's whole thing about how other communities fill buses, fill a room with 600 people, but that takes work. We have to do the outreach, the marketing, the publicity.
Yes. You're absolutely right, Carl. I mean, it's about, and that's something that we need to work on anyway, is outreach. And maybe that's why I put it on the agenda. It's something that we need to work on anyway, is outreach. And I know Toba, mentioned this as well. Outreach is something that is critical, that we need to that we really need to work on. And so I'm going to, talk about that a little bit later on. But like I said, and I know John Isaac has mentioned it, but outreach. And so like I said, Carl, I think you and I, let's have a conversation. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be feeling better, because right now I'm somewhat brain dead, but yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry to hear that. That happens too.
Yeah, it's been a long day. So, but let's make sure that, like I said, I hadn't forgotten about what you said. So let's you and I touch base. And
Okay.
then,
Happy to. Yes.
Yeah, come up with a strategy. Okay.
Yes, and I just one last comment.
Sure.
There is one community board, I forget which one, when I did the analysis of what each community board in our area has, one has a publicity committee. So that's just something to think about. There, I think it was 8 or 7. They have a whole committee dedicated to communicating to the public. So that's just, I'm just going to throw that out there as something we should think about.
Well, I'll say this, in private private thoughts, I was not thinking like a committee per se, but I was thinking, like I said, I'll touch base with you and later tell you what I was thinking. But I'll tell the body, I was thinking more along the lines of a community relations or communications person on the board, and some, people that are good at it that I would select that would help. So it wouldn't be a formal committee per se, but something along those lines is what I was thinking. And then, as I said, I will, but I need to, crystallize my thoughts and, but, and then bring it to the board. But I was thinking something like that. So maybe not formation of a committee per se, but, select individuals whose talents are to communicate, and like I said, maybe, a cadre of maybe, 3 to 5 individuals that can do that.
Right. And wield a role of Scotch tape and tape up flyers and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. So we'll chat later offline.
Yeah, we will chat later. Okay. All right.
Okay. Thanks.
You got it. All righty. So next up is, of course, the topic of the day, which, what is happening here? Here we go. The topic of the day, which of course is, we've been talking about committees and quite frankly, the need to, we do have quite a few committees. I am in favor of reducing some. I know that our DM and I agree on the amount, but I am in favor of reducing some. So that takes me to item number 4, which of course is standing committee organization or reorganization. Now, I know that the bylaws committee was trying to tackle this or thought they were going to tackle this, but I said that this is something that quite frankly needs to happen at the executive level. And so I'm sharing this so that you can see some things that I want to point out. So I guess I'm gonna do the first one first. And that goes to this right here. So the reason that I created this calendar was because if you remember a couple of meetings back, we had members from the community were saying, well, they were not just telling you, but they were telling me, well, is there a calendar when each committee meets? Because before we were going willy-nilly, and we were meeting on any date that was available, and really the public really want to participate fully and really couldn't because quite frankly, there was no set date as to what we were meeting. And not only that, we had some board members use that as an excuse as to why they weren't on a committee. So what I did was, hearing what a lot of you came back to me and said, I'm like, okay, so let's create some sort of structure. So what I did was I created this document and I put a call out to committee chairs, something like what we're doing right now in executive committees. I'm like, chairs, if you have a particular day that you want, let me know. If you don't, then I'm going to give you an arbitrary assigned day. So what wound up happening was some of you got back to me and some of you didn't. And so for the ones that didn't, what I wound up doing was just, again, once the chairs who got back to me filled in their preferred days, and I'm like, okay, then I will fill in the days that were remaining. The reason that we have this calendar is for a couple of reasons. A, since I'm the acting chair, soon to be incoming chair, I'm an ex officio member of every single committee. And if 2 committees are having meetings on the same day, last time I checked, I'm only one person. So, unlike an episode of I Dream of Jeannie, where Jeannie blinks, Tony Nelson in the 2 places at once. I mean, Sammy Davis Jr., that is, in the 2 places at once. If you remember that episode, we don't have any such thing happening here. So since I can't be in multiple places at once, I can only be in one meeting at a time. This is one way for me, A, to be able to come to your meetings if I can, but more importantly, B, for you as committee chairs and for the community to be able to set on a particular day. Now, it just so happened that I've heard from 2 committee chairs that I'm looking at. Based on my conversations with them, I see a swap that can occur between 2 of my committee chairs, which is great. Our committee chairs. I see a swap happening based on an email that I received today and an email I received last week. So I'm hoping that they can work that out, and we can put that swap on. But that was the reason for putting the calendar together. As it comes to committee contraction and combination, I was actually thinking there are 4 committees. I have 2 here, and I forgot to add 2. What I was thinking about was environmental concerns and public safety can be combined. And the reason I say that is because as I was looking at the mission of the public safety committee, I mean, I know they deal with NYPD / sanitation, so I think those are the 2 areas that they deal with. And I'm thinking, well, NYPD is pretty well covered because I think Pam covers that with the precinct council meeting. So public safety also has a responsibility for sanitation. And I can't remember the last time we had sanitation come to talk to the board, as well as an environmental concern. So I was thinking about those 2 committees can be combined, and then Alfredo would still be the chair of that. And then I was also thinking, because of what's going on in this committee, I mean, not this committee, but this community, and these kind of 2 are synonymous with each other, especially with all these projects that George mentioned earlier is that if housing and land use can be combined as well. So that's just my idea. I'm going to eliminate the discipline committee for now because I think I found a workaround around that. I know that Dr. Hall had mentioned that, when he was chair, that was mandated by the borough president. But I think that, we can work around that with just the executive committee or the executive officers, should say. So I'm going to scratch that. But as far as committee contraction, those are just my ideas. And last but not least, and again, this is open for discussion. Last but not least is that, do we want to establish a task force, again, based on preparation, determine the feasibility and long-term effects of committee reorganization as a whole? So in other words, instead of having 5 members to a committee, do we have 3 members to a committee? So those are just some ideas that I want to bring to the table. And so, I'm open to, some discussion on that.
Hi, this is Carla again.
Carla, Ursula's got her hand up first, so let me recognize Ursula, and then I'm back.
Hey, so just an FYI, the reports are supposed to go out with the minutes. So if you have them meet in the same week of the board, we won't be able to get the reports. Just an FYI.
Right. And so I think so. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ursula. And so I think that's why Miss Claude sent hers from last month. And so she's not being penalized for that because her meeting was after the board meeting, so that's why you have hers. I see you, Miss Claude. So that's why you have hers from last month. Right. So there you go. So hang on, Miss Claude. I see you. So Carla is next and then you, okay? Okay. Hang on, Carla. Let me. So you were.
Sorry.
Yes, Carla.
Oh, okay. So I thought we were talking about combining environmental concerns and parks, right? So environmental concerns was my old committee before legislative affairs, but our committee worked closely with the chair, Ivan Boris, of parks. So I thought we were going to combine those, and that would include sanitation as sort of a related issue. And, I always felt safe leaving my former committee in his hands. So I think you proposed something different. What?
I did, but this is up for discussion, Carla. This is not a dictatorship. Okay. That's why that was an idea. Yeah, no. So this is, we're discussing it now.
Right. So I think Ivan is on. Can we ask?
Hey, he's on.
For his input? I would really endorse.
Yeah, Ivan, Alfredo's, both of them. So yeah, that's fine.
I think there's a lot of things that play a role as far as tenure, knowledge, just things like that. Who's doing the work, right? Who's moving, who's doing the grinding, who's doing the work. Also, when we would take on a lot of we would take on environmental concerns and parks, which, is one, we combine them as one committee. And we were taking on some of the sanitation issues as well, and that did become a little overbearing. So I don't have an issue with it, but it sounds like if that were to happen, you said somebody else would then chair that committee.
Well, no, let me just say again, this is discussion. I guess let me tell you how I was thinking. Again, That's why I said this is not a dictatorship. How I was thinking was, I thought that public safety's part of their role was sanitation. If I'm wrong, let me know. So that's what I'm saying. This is up for discussion. So Alfredo, I want to hear what you got to say.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Everything is good. We could combine. I don't mind combining my committee with parks. We do deal with NYPD, fire department, sanitation, OEM. Makes sense.
So am I hearing that you would want to be? So you saying parks would be a better fit for you? Is that what you're saying?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, what I'm saying is whatever has to do with either NYPD, sanitation, fire department, OEM. That's what I'm getting at. If parks deals with issues with sanitation, which I'm assuming they do because of the dumping in the parks, then that could be part of public safety. Again, like you said, it's up for discussion, you know.
Yeah, it's up for discussion. I mean, I want to hear what everybody has to say.
Anybody else?
We have one of our new members that want to chime in. Okay.
Yeah, so I can't.
Hang on for a second, Carl. Hang on, Carl. We have one of our new members want to chime in.
Okay, sure.
Good. We got new members chiming in already, so that's great. They have their own meeting tomorrow, but that's fine. Yes, Ms. Martin.
I just have a clarification question. What is OEM?
Sorry, yes, Office of Emergency Management.
Okay, I figured that. I just
Sorry
wanted
about that. Yep.
No, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Carla.
No, I just was going to say we had talked previously, various members of the board, about combining environmental concerns with parks. And I thought that was a very good fit, and I thought it would be a very nice remit under Ivan Boris's leadership. So, yeah, that's just my comment.
Okay. So again, we're not going to vote on this tonight, but it's something that I want us to start thinking about. What about housing and land use? Because I really think those are closely related. So I think they're very close, especially what the hell we're dealing with. So what do you think about that, Mr. Hall?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. There was a lawsuit in 2019, okay, within the New York City Housing Authority. And what happened was they have what they call a federal monitor. And this federal monitor took one president from each borough in order to create a committee. And I happen to be the person selected for the Bronx, which really overwhelms me, okay? It overwhelms me to the point that I won't even be on the meeting coming up this week, okay? But in any event, my point is you can put housing with land use, but be advised, you must understand, a lot of these block associations or things that we need to bottle up and get folks to do things that are necessary, it's not the same. The reason I'm saying it's not the same is the owners of the homes, for the most part, are not living in the homes. And the people who are renting those spaces are only but so much concerned about the best interest of that particular block. Now, I'm not saying that to debase anyone or to decline any type of momentum, but that is something you really have to be cognizant of, all right? But land use, as far as being systemic and changing the way things are done, it would be in the best interest to be with housing. So I don't have a problem with that. And so who's that, Carl Stricker?
Yeah, that's Carl Stricker.
I can't stand that next to him. But
so I think John has his hand up. John, go ahead and unmute yourself. Never mind. John, I got you.
No, I'm good.
Okay, I thought you had something.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Alfredo, you had something to say? Oh, okay, I thought you had something to say. Okay, so Mr. Hall, so I'm hearing that you're okay with combining forces with Mr. Stricker.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. All right, I don't have a problem with that. There's no egotistical thing. Carl wins hands down. But
well, I mean,
advantageous.
Okay.
I don't.
You know.
I just want to chime in. And it's funny because I'm disagreeing with the person who's okay with it. But I think Mr. Hall and Carl Stricker give great reports. I think it'll be detrimental to just reporting in itself on what's going on in our community if you combine those committees. I mean, if there are going to be times where there may be a report on either side that may not be extensive. So yeah, that would make sense to combine them. But whenever there is something that's looming and something heavy at hand, it behooves us to get these reports from these chairs.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. The thing is, I think we could come up with something systematic that we both can maintain what's in the best interest of the board. I think we can work something out. It won't come right away, but I think we can work something out. I do. All right. I mean, like I said, my heart, my passion is in the right place. So, I mean, that's it. So we'll continue.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hall. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you would. Are you done, Ms. Hall? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I just, again, I just thought it was a good idea, but I think what we probably need to do, we're agreeing to combine some committees, so I think we probably need a little bit further discussion to make certain that we can codify this and that everything works out. But I just kind of sort of want to get the ball rolling on that. So I think what I'm going to do is discuss that, and some of you come into the office and we can discuss it, or better yet, if you want to write me something, you can, and then we can come to something that we can bring to the board, maybe not the next meeting, but another meeting or two, and then come up where we can combine something where because again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to do the best for the board and combining resources. I mean, in my opinion, Mr. Hall, you have a lot of institutional knowledge about housing, and Mr. Stricker has a lot of institutional knowledge about land use. And that one time that I was in the meeting where when we were still talking about that B&B, you guys were able to play off of each other. I was just like, boy, that's a hell of a lot of knowledge. And so that's why I thought about that. So again, I think that, this is not, it's not written in stone, but if we can start discussion, maybe, it can work out for everybody.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Burke.
Yes, sir.
I just want to raise a point. I sort of disagree with what Ivan just said, because I think if both committees were combined, we can still, it doesn't necessarily have to be this way, but both leaders as they are now can still function in both of those in the new committee. One could be the chair, one could be the vice chair, and you could basically have the similar roles that they have now. But what we'll certainly do is cut down on the amount of meetings, and we can have the same type of reporting, and then it will be better because now we will have more people attending one meeting as opposed to people attending two meetings. But I don't think it in any way it's going to diminish the reporting that we're getting now if those individuals are still in those same positions, except they're not under one committee.
Well, thank you, Ted. I mean, that was the thought process, and I mean, I'm glad that you make your opinion known. And again, that's what this is about. Everybody, making their opinions known. I think we've at least the chatter has started. At least I want to say, in 2 months' time, let's get together. Well, actually, 2 months' time is going to be Christmas, and actually, well, before Christmas, let's at least come up with some ideas prior to that, because Christmas time, I'm going back to the home state. So, we can go from there. But I appreciate you and your opinion. But at least we've now got the ball rolling and the discussion rolling. And, I'm looking forward to hearing, a little bit more. And then we can come up with a concrete solution maybe in about, like I said, a month and a half or so.
I just want to, I can agree with Mr. James. I just want to let you know I can agree with Mr. James. The only thing that comes to mind though with that is that you have to take into account how long is each committee's meetings. So if your committee meeting is normally 2 hours, Now you have to now combine another committee's meeting, which also takes about 2 hours. So you're potentially going to be staying during a committee meeting for 4 hours. Just food for thought.
First of all, most committees, let me jump in on that. Most committees don't meet that long. I mean, yeah, Mrs. Claude is looking like
No.
nuts. I'm seeing her look, but no, most of us don't meet that long. I mean, you know, some of the meetings are done lickety split. You know, Ivan, I know your meeting was a little long because, of course, it was a very passionate topic, and we had a number of people in that meeting. And as a hopefully, Mr. You know, Mr. Williams reached out to you because I know, you know, he and I talked about some other things, but you know, I know they're putting their plan together now. But most of the meetings, I think transportation, I think I was on their meeting. It took all of 30 minutes, and that was just because of some wrangling. Yeah, I see Clinton has got his hand up. That was just because of some wrangling that was going on. It shouldn't have even taken that long. You know, Mrs. Claude's meetings normally don't last that long either. So it depends on. And Miss Benitez, I know, God knows that, you know, she's straight. She has her stuff together, and they're like in and out. So, you know, it's just like boom. And Miss Benitez doesn't play. If you don't have your stuff together, she shuts you down. So, you know, and I mean, seriously, that's how she rolls. And so her meetings are normally at tops 45 minutes. So, you know, like I said, it depends on, you know, what the topic is, I think, as well. So
That's it. The topic.
Yeah, it depends on the topic. So, anyway, let's discuss that. I mean, I think there was some good discussion around that, and like I said, hopefully within, you know, a month and a half, 2, we can, you know, come up with some solutions. So I've got 2 more topics to talk about, and one, of course, is what you see tonight. So, of course, our new board members. So I don't want to give too much away, but I will say this, and of course, as I'm looking for something right now, right? You know, so board members, I'm happy to report that Community Board 12 was blessed with 7 new board members, and many of which are actually on the call tonight. 7 new board members, and so what I'm going to do is tomorrow they're going to have their day in a new member meeting. And so normally what happens in the new member meeting is that, you know, the way we did it with the last cohort, which was Mr. Abdul, who's on this call now, you know, myself and our district manager, George, got together with them, and, you know, we discussed some things. And so one of the things that I've done are, oh, snaps, I wasn't supposed to do. What the hell happened? Oh my God. I don't want to put this young lady stuff out here. Okay, hang on. Wait. Damn it. Let me stop sharing. I do not know what happened because I had the stuff blacked out. So let me stop sharing right now. It was blacked out, and so I apologize, Miss Blair. It was blacked out when I had done it, and I don't know what happened to it. All right, so I feel horrible, but so let me close this down. I don't know what happened. So I guess, Carl, I had one of your type of malfunctions where it didn't do what it was supposed to do. But what I wanted to show was that each new member got a letter and a phone call, except for one. One new member has not called me back or returned my phone call. And so, you know, every cohort has a new member that, you know, is that black sheep, and this cohort is no exception. So there's one member that I have yet to contact. I plan on contacting them if it's not too late after this meeting. One of the new members, as I said before, has not called me back, and I've reached out twice. And as many of you know, I don't believe in babying people. And as I said, last year's group, you know, we had one new member. And even in my group, you know, I came in with Clinton and Nigeria. And even in our group, there's still that one person, you know, and Clinton and Nigeria, you know who I'm talking about. That's always a black sheep. So every new class always has one black sheep. And this class is no exception, but we've got 7 new board members. And as I said, we've got a few of them on the call tonight. But as I said, they're going to, their meeting is tomorrow. And so I will just introduce them briefly and they will tell you about themselves. If you choose to tune in tomorrow, I will have them tell them they're going to, I have the agenda in my mind for what we're going to do tomorrow. But as I'm looking on the call, I see Mr. Brown is called in. Miss Blair, who unfortunately I put herself out there. And I apologize, Miss Blair, is a new member. Mrs. Martin is on the call, as well as Attorney Singh. Mr. Harry Singh is on the call as well. So 4 of the 7 new members are on the call. As I said, 1 has not been contacted yet. 1 has not returned my call, and the other one isn't. But I want to again welcome them. And as I said, we have their meeting tomorrow, in which we're going to sit down between them, myself, and the district manager. And I've actually invited our community board historian, Miss Egypt, to give a little bit. She's laughing, to give a little bit of a presentation on the history of the community board. So she's going to be tuning in as well. And as I said, so for those of you that want to tune in, my suggestion to you is that you come in, they will, introduce themselves, give you a spiel, you introduce yourselves, and then I'm going to kick you out, right? Because this meeting is for new members. So come in, meet them. They're ready to get to work. I can say from talking to them that they are absolutely, I can't wait to put them to work, because as I said, they're ready. I think we're ready. And so I just want to, for new members that are on the EC call, welcome. Okay. And I see, yep, and there people are talking in the chat, which is great. So let's now get to, since we were talking about new members and their enthusiasm, we need to talk about, of course, old members, right? And so, and what to do with them. So I'm gonna tell you what I was thinking and tell you what the directive was. So here we go. So we just did part number 5. Oh, by the way, let me just mention one other thing too. Then part as far as number 7. So I can tackle one of those right now. Some of the new members already have their new member manual. So, I think that came out from Ms. Ortiz, Ms. Rosati, a conversation that, George and I were having en route to Community Board 11. And we came up with the new member, Community Board 12 member manual, which is beautiful, using our president's terminology. And so I know some of the newer members have picked theirs up, and some of the older members as well. So we can get an update on that. But let's talk about number 6, right? The older board members. So, Mr. Isaac had a transportation committee meeting, and one of his board members wasn't present. I know that, Mr. Hall had a meeting. Some of his board members weren't present, as well as I want to say Ms. Benitez last month. And so this gets to the lack of attendance. So the first thing I was getting ready to do was come in with a scorched earth policy, meaning that I was getting ready to write letters to these board members to activate the removal process. That's what I was getting ready to do. However, after getting some guidance from the borough president's office, pretty much the guidance from the borough president's office was similar to what I'd received from my ex-fiance, which was it's easier to get flies with honey than vinegar. So to that end, why is there a lack of attendance? So in other words, do a well-being checkup. And I know that the second vice chair did that back in March, and we had a wellness call back in March. But why are they not attending? So the first question is it a COVID-related concern? So case in point, one of our board members has had an emergency. Now, even though that board member has not told me, they told someone else, and word got to me. I'm like, oh, okay, well, why didn't they say that? If they had said that, then, we wouldn't be, they wouldn't be on the list per se. But if it's an emergency, and in this particular case is very valid, then, what's going on? So I need to reach out to that particular person, but as well as everybody else. There are certain board members I've reached out to. Well, are you okay? Are you staying safe? Well, if the answer is yes, and you're just not coming, then that's another issue. I know some of our older board members, which I'm glad to see Miss Gibson on the call. I'm also glad to see, Mr. Lanzana have gotten their technology together, and I know some of our older board members may have an issue with technology. So is that the barrier? So that's one of the things that I'm going to flush out on my own. So what I'm going to do, board members, is to reach out to these non-participating board members personally and try to find out what the issue is. If the issue is one of those things, then it's something that we can work with. If the issue then is not one of those things, then what'll happen is then we'll draw dismissal letters. Okay, and again, there's a template that's already set, and it's just a matter of doing that. So I think that is based on the guidance received from the BP's office, is that that's the approach that I'm going to take, instead of just getting ready to kick them off immediately to find out what's going on. Is there something that I can do? So for instance, one board member I talk to all the time, I'm like, hey, so-and-so, is everything okay? Oh yeah, Dr. Burke, everything is great. We have a meeting. Oh yes, Dr. Burke, I'm going to be there. And of course, we haven't seen him, right? And it's an older board member, and I love that particular person personally, but we've got to take care of business. And so, as I said, I look at Miss Gibson tonight, who is here. And as I said, God bless her, because I know that, I know that she loves me, even though I know, and again, I know all of you sometimes may disagree with me, but, we can disagree without being disagreeable. And I don't mind criticism if I'm wrong. And I think you guys know that. And so, to that end, I think that's going to be the approach. So is there any suggestions or any comments on point number 6 before we close this meeting out?
Do you have a disciplinarian that's in charge of all of the board members? Do we have somebody that's in charge of problems that occur?
Well, technically, I guess that falls on the chair. Now, I know that when, your brother was chair, he had mentioned this back in October of last year and November of last year, where at the borough board meeting, that the borough president indicated that each community board was responsible for pretty much the formation of a discipline committee. Now that's what, and I know Dr. Hall talked about that last year. And I kind of want to pick up on that, but then again, right now, when we're talking about committee contraction instead of committee addition, I guess in my mind, Mr. Hall, what I was thinking about is I know that a lot of this responsibility falls on me now as an incoming chair, but instead of making it unilateral, what I was thinking about doing was bringing in the executive officers. So for instance, whoever we vote on Thursday, so for instance, whoever the new first vice chair is, whoever the new treasurer is, secretary, so forth and so on, and that we could form the quote unquote discipline committee amongst ourselves. So in other words, instead of forming a new committee, the executive officers could be that discipline committee. So I think that would be my answer to the question. And I don't know if, so it's not one person per se, Mr. Hall.
Okay. The reason I asked that, what is Hillary Bloomfield? She has a position?
Well, it's funny you should say that. Ms. Bloomfield is no longer a member of the board.
Okay.
She was not reappointed by the borough president.
Okay. because I thought that was the title that she had gone. And if she's not there, I don't know, there should be a suitable replacement. But
right. Again, as I said, Mr. Like I said, we could talk about it, because of course you got my number too, right?
yeah,
So
I'll give you a call.
yeah. So I mean, we can talk about that. But yeah, like I said, so yeah, the borough president did not reappoint Ms. Bloomfield, so Hillary Bloomfield is no longer a member of the community board. Well, she's obviously a member of the community, and she's still very much welcome. But as far as being a board member, the borough president took that away from her.
Okay.
Okay. So last but not least, I want to ask George about really, this is a George and Alfredo segment, the last segment, which of course is the community board manual. So George, if you could update me as to did all of the new members get their manuals?
No, not all the new members picked up the manuals.
Okay. I mean, I know some did, but not all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
not
about
all.
how are we doing with the seasoned members? I mean, because I'm guilty. I got mine fairly recently, but I know that Ageria and Carla and Mr. James got. Oh, I see Ursula's got her hand up. Got theirs kind of early, and some others as well. So I don't know. Ursula, what you got, Ursula?
I'm meeting with 2 of the new members tomorrow to give it to them.
Okay.
Yeah. We've had some people pick it up, but our boxes are still kind of full, so we need more to pick up.
Okay,
more
so
people to pick them up.
So that means that we need to get. Okay, so yep, Mr. Hall has got his. I've got mine. So all committee chairs should have theirs, right? So if you don't, then you need to get it. Let me talk to my friend Ms. Gibson. Ms. Gibson, do you have your community board manual?
No.
You don't? Okay. So Alfredo, I got you. Hold on. So Ms. Gibson, you need to get yours. Alfredo, yes, sir.
Hey guys, so with that package that you guys put together, there's a very interesting book that I think city planning gave us or sold to us. But that book is very, very, very interesting and useful. We use it down in the building department. It's a very useful book. If people look through it every time they have 2-3 minutes, just go through it. Every question that the community has will be in that book. Like what's permitted in certain zoning district, what's not permitted, FAR, lot coverage, residential, commercial, manufacturing zones. It's a very good book. And let me tell you, it's an expensive book. It's very expensive because I've bought one prior to prior years. It's a very expensive book, and for them to give it to us is very nice of them. But we have to use it. We cannot just let it sit in the closet. You look through it, and I guarantee you're gonna be like, "Wow, this is very useful." So whoever came up with that idea to commit to prepare that, they actually did a very good job.
Amen to that.
Yep.
Amen. Yes, Ursula, I got you. Yes, Ursula. Hang on. Yep, hold on. Yes, Ursula.
I'll be there tomorrow at 10 o'clock if anybody want to stop by and get it.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask this question, and I'm going to ask George this because I know that George and I talked about this, and so we talked about actually maybe city planning doing a class for us, and so is that part of what we talked about earlier, George? Or is that something different?
No. I mean, city planning has their own classes. Actually, a lot of our board members went to their last one at Metropolitan College.
Yeah, you were there. You, myself.
Yeah, I went as well. Yeah. So they do that on their own. They try to explain planning, but since we're meeting with planning and HPD, if it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't always have to focus on housing. We can focus on other stuff as well. I mean, that's the part of the pre-registration is so that anybody that has any question will just give it to the agency, and then they can put a presentation together to give it to us. Like that. Okay. That'll be it'll be sort of like a virtual town hall where they'll have all the questions, and then they can answer all the questions.
Okay. Thank you.
But
And so I guess
that's just to say, though, if you want something separate with city planning, I'm sure that they would be more than happy to put it together.
I mean, because I'm listening to what Alfredo said, and that's why the idea came to me. I don't know. I mean, if they're doing it, then that's fine. I mean, because I was perusing through it. To your point, Alfredo, I was perusing through it myself. I'm like, oh, okay. I think, in particular, I still need to understand that 2011 vote as to why it took place. And so and so that's that. The last thing I want to talk about, truth be told, Alfredo, is something that you and Lucy Martin brought to me, and I want to know where we're at with that, because I have an idea of how you can get some help if you need it. So you brought to me, was it last year? You brought to me the idea of the resource guide where we have merchants and churches and everything else that are in a community board. Come together, but have like a telephone book of sorts, something like that. So where are we at with that?
You can hear me?
Yeah.
I don't think we got to speak about it because I think when I gave it to you, I think the month after that was Thanksgiving, and then after that was Christmas, and we didn't really meet, so we didn't really speak too much about it. But it's a good pamphlet. We're not gonna copy it exactly as is, but it's a very good pamphlet. We could
Hello?
basically everything that's within our community board, churches, fire departments, police departments, local merchants, clergies. It's a good book, and it'll be good to have. And somebody in the community wants to know where's their local precinct, or where's their local fire department station, or where's their local councilman office, or their congressman office, or HPD office, as Social Security office. It will be listed in that book. Parks also, it'll be shown, like all the parks that we have. We have a lot of parks in our community board, whether people know that or not. We have a lot of beautiful parks, and that book will also show the locations of all our parks and stuff, and everything else within our community board.
So let me ask, because here's an idea that I have. The one thing in any organization, whether you're a freshman in high school, a freshman in college, whether John, you're in a fraternal organization, as am I. The newbies are always the ones who we put on projects like that, right? And so since we have our enthusiastic new board members, I can just tell them right now, that's something that I'm thinking about as a project for them. You see Ms. Martin, she's up here, and so that's a project I've got for them to work with you on that. So that's just an idea that was churning in my mind for quite some time and talking to them. Other than that, I'm done, committee chairs. So I'm going to mute everybody. I think that, again, in talking to the new members, they were just absolutely outstanding. I'm very happy that we finally got, and George, I credit you and me kind of sort of ripping Tom Lucania's head off. We finally got new members that we can actually use. So I'm done. So with that, let me unmute everybody, because as far as I'm concerned, this meeting is over. So it's informal. So I do need let me unmute everybody. I do need a motion for adjournment. All right, is it properly seconded? Is there any further remaining to discuss?
I'll second it.
Okay, so all in favor of adjourning, by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, so Mr. Hall, before we do we need to closing? Okay, housing. So let's make sure that you and I, like I said, let's make sure that you and I touch base tomorrow, okay? Mr. Hall?
I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, cool. New members have to come, but the So you got to see some of the committee chairs. You see, and Kevin Appleberger is in year number 3, and he still got that energy. So I'm just glad to see everybody. Mrs. Allen is here as well. I see Mr. Abdul. I want to
This says what?
introduce you. In fact, I have the perfect mentor for you. So everybody, take care. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
If,
Expression
if
that
you're crying for me, I'm
each
part of the reason why it was a long day. My last race lost.
common area of them. Pay attention to it. I think you're unstable.
Anyway, take care, everybody. Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
Take care. Hey, where is the